CHAP tales. Don't you wanna hear some CHAP tales? Howdy doody. Hello people, you alright? What is happening? Okay, so it's time for a CHAP tale. Okay, I was just thinking about some other stories that I could share with you peeps, but this is what came into my nut. Alright, so when I was, come on, let's think about this, 19? Yeah, 19, sounds good. Okay, yes, but when I was 19, I joined a company called Service Point, which was a reprographic printing firm down Old Street, down like city-esqueness. And basically I joined them as a van driver, driving a small like Fiesta car van thing, you know what I mean, where the back of it's been made into a van. Anyway, so this day we had some firms like proper in the city, like Fleet Street and that Cannon Street is here, and Cheapside, and if I can remember. But anyway, I was on the road that comes off of Farringdon Road, and it passes St Paul's Cathedral. I don't know what road it was anyway, it's near St Paul's Cathedral anyway. So I'm going down this road, and like there's like slow moving traffic, you know what I mean, like, and I've got an A to Z, like a little A to Z on my legs, because at this time I weren't like up on the Knifty. I didn't like know all the streets back to front, how I got when I joined UPS, but since then I've sort of lost it again. But anyway, right, so yeah, so I'm in this Fiesta van, I've got some deliveries in the back, I'm on this road next to St Paul's Cathedral, slow moving traffic, got a black cab in front of me, and so the traffic speeds up, slows down, speeds up, you know what I mean, so I'm slightly speeding up as the cab in front of me is moving, and then when we're coming up to the traffic again, we're slowing down. Anyway, so we pull off again a bit faster, and I quickly have a look down to see where it was some little mews or whatever off of Fleet Street, I think, that I was looking for, but I'm just sort of looking at the map, like just making sure I'm going the right way, and all of a sudden the black cab in front of me has obviously just whacked his brakes on hard, because I don't know what was in front of him, but something's made him brake very hard. So I have gone for the brake in my head, that's what I was doing, but for some mental reason I've hit the accelerator, and I'm not even joking, right, these little Fiesta vans, they was turbo, I don't know, maybe 2 litre turbos in them, and it was pretty new as well, like pretty new van, and I've hit the accelerator instead of the brake like an idiot. Don't ask me how or why or what, but as I've hit this accelerator, the turbo just seemed to kick in, man. It was just like shikada bow wow, and basically my Fiesta has pounced onto the back of this black cab, yeah, like a lion chasing its prey. And so I've just jumped onto the back of the Fiesta, in the Fiesta on the back of the cab, and basically this cab had 3 ladies in the back, all along the back seat, and I could see them through the window or whatever, but as I've hit the cab, they have just gone on the floor, basically. And basically the van sort of slid off the cab, and then I've just like pulled the handbrake up, and I'm like, I can see that the back of the cab is mangled, and I can see that the Fiesta's mangled. mangle. So I was just like, oh my God, what is happening? Why is this happening? I was fairly new at the company as well, and I was thinking, God damn it, I am sacked. Anyway, so I'm sitting there like, and I've seen the cabbies jumped out of the cab, but giving me his due, he went straight to the back of the cab, opened the back door, whatever, and he was just making sure these three ladies were okay and that, and he got them out of the cab and they were standing on the pavement, whatever. And then there was another black cabbie coming towards us on the other side of the road, and he didn't know him, but I suppose cabbies have got that you know what I mean, that togetherness. So he's sort of held, if that's the right word, yeah. And then the cabbies done a U-turn, because them cabs used to just basically turn, like, the turning circle was very small. He's just flipped his cab around, he's got in front of the cab that I've pounced on and parked up, and he's sort of like, the cabbie has gone over to him, obviously saying, look, I've got these ladies and I was taking them to blah blah blah, and can you carry on with the journey or whatever? And he's like, of course, sir. So they open the back of the cab, the three ladies give me a couple of dirty looks, and I just sort of looked down and thought, and then they jumped in the back of this other cab and the cab has shut off. Well, by now I'm just sitting there like an idiot, because there's like loads of people checking out what's happened, and then there's cars going around us giving us little bibs like, what are you doing in the road? Go on, mate, do one, will ya? So anyway, the cabbie has started coming towards me, and this is when I'm thinking, God, do you know what I mean? So he's come up to my window, and I can see he's raging, his face is red, he's just ready to rip my head off. And he's just like, and he opened his mouth, and I swear to God, before he said a word, I just looked at him and I said, look, mate, I said, I know it's my fault and I accept all liability for what's just happened, all right? I'm fully insured, you're going to get paid out. So now take your screwed up face and go and sit in your motor and organise some recovery, all right? And he looked at me and he's just like, meh. So then he's walked off, and then he's made a scene of me watching him write down the company name, service point, and the phone number that's on the side of his van. Yeah. And I thought, I went out the window and I said, mate, my name's John, yeah, John Chapman. And he looked at me, he's like, all right. He got in his cab or whatever, just getting on with whatever he's getting on with. And I'm sitting there and I was just like, I hadn't even got out of the van at this point. So I thought I'd better get out and just have a little look at what's happened to the Fiesta. Jumped out, I could see the cab anyway from sitting where I was sitting. I jumped out, had a look around the van, took in all the damage, bonnet was all bent, oh God. So I got back in the van and phoned the office and I said, look, I can't remember who I spoke to, maybe Jason. Sorry, Jason was like the sort of little manager geezer who sorted out the drivers. But yeah, I sort of said to him, Jay, I said, look, mate, I've like an idiot crashed into the back of a black cab. And he's like, all right, mate. He said, he gave me a number and he said, phone this number, it's our recovery company or whatever, and he goes, they'll come and pick you up. And he said, when they take the van, get them, if they're coming closer to us, get them to drop you or whatever, but they might not want to if they're not coming our way or whatever. He said, if not, just jump on the bus or the tube or whatever and just come back to the office. And I was like, okay, Joe. And I was thinking, he's gone straight to the Rodney, the bigger manager, and they talking about it. And I bet you when I get back, I am getting a tin tack, mate. I'll tell you what. So I sort of like sat there. The cabbie's recovery person seemed to turn up instantaneously. It was like, da da da, save the black cab. And yeah, so they was gone, and I'm still in the middle of the road, like, and I hadn't even really I was fairly close to the pavement anyway, but I should have moved. I thought, because the engine had cut out and all that, and I thought where I could see the bonnet was all bent, I thought I'm not even going to try and turn this back on, because do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, who knows what damage has been done to the engine. So I sat there, and it was like a good hour or so. I was sitting there like with my hazards on and like just trying to guide people around my van with my arm and stiff. So the recovery guy turned up, and obviously because there's no one else there, just like, and he's like, "What happened here, mate?" And I was like, "Oh, you don't want to know." And he's like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "The biggest dog come running out of that place, out that building there, yeah, it massacred 2 women on that pavement there, and then it jumped over a bus, ran in front of me, and I hit it, and I'm not even joking, look at the state of the van." And he was like looking at me like, "You're an idiot." I was like, no, I'm joking, mate. I said I was looking at a A to Z, and when I looked back up, a car had put there, a black cab had done like a bit of an emergency stop. So I went for my brake and I've hit the accelerator like an idiot. And where it's a brand new turbo van, it just sort of kicked in straight away and threw me on the back of the van, the back of the cab. And he's like, "Oh, all right, sweet. It happens. And I was like, "Oh, well, yeah, it happens." So he did what, I can't remember whether it lifted the Fiesta onto the back with like a crane, or if it was one of them what jobs that like hold the wheels up or what. Don't know. But I got in his cab with me, and he's like, "Right, where are you going?" And I said, "Well, Old Street is where my office is. I need to get back there." And he's like, "Yeah, sweet, I'll drive you." And I was like, "Oh, nice one, mate." So he's drove me back, boom, stopped outside. Everybody from service point is at the windows laughing their heads off at the state of the van. And then he sort of said to me, "Oh, well, good luck, mate," because I was saying to him that I think I've got the old tin tack or whatever. And he's drove off. I've walked into the building, and everybody's looking at me like I'm an idiot, which I probably was. And then I just basically I walked straight to Rodney, because I knew that, you know what I mean, I need to go to the organ grinder, don't I? There's no point talking to the woofties beforehand, is there? So I went over to Rodney and I said, "Look, Rod, I'm sorry, mate." I said, I didn't quite know where. It was the building company, Bovis Lend-Lease or whatever. It was one of their offices, because they had a site nearby, and that's where I was delivering to. And I just said, "Rod, what can I say, mate?" I said, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do it." Like the cab in front of me emergency stopped, and then basically my foot, instead of hitting the brakes, hit the accelerator, turbo kicked in and flung me on the back of the cab like a prancer. And to tell you the truth, Rodney was a great geezer, and he sort of said, "Well, it happens, John, you know what I mean? We're insured, that's why we've got insurance, you know what I mean?" He's like, "Don't do it again, though, will you?" I was like, "No, I won't, I promise." Yeah, so that was where that story ended. Okay, nice one. Thanks for listening, everyone. Cheers. Please like, subscribe, comment, smash bells, and just help me out to grow the channel, and do you know what I mean? And it'll be great. All right, sweet. Nice one. Speak soon, yeah? Chat tales. Don't you wanna hear some chat tales?